this offering. Thank you, Howard. So I'll start off by saying this pre-submittal conference is being recorded. So to make everyone aware, we're going to be uploading this recording to the RFQ webpage by Monday. So for those who are here, can reference it. Any folks not able to join us, we'll have it as a resource. So we are very, very excited to be here tonight for this Parkview Rec Center homeownership request for qualifications pre-submittal conference. Next page. We'll do some quick introductions. My name's Matt DeSantis. I have the pleasure and privilege of serving as DHCD's Director of Neighborhood Development and Outreach. I'm joined by Nick Mayer, our Neighborhood Development Officer Supervisor, and last and not least, Mr. Howard Tutman, our Neighborhood Development Officer for West Baltimore. I see, Howard, we got the annotate function is turned on. Is that I don't think that's me making those notes. Oh well, I'm not sure how to turn it off. Anyways, whatever, be that as it may, I'm going to hand things off to our intrepid Mr. Tutman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Howard Tutman again, Neighborhood Development Officer for West Baltimore. We encourage you, if you do have any questions, to put them in the chat, and Nicholas Mayer, the NDL supervisor, will be compiling the questions when they're in the chat. For those of you who may be on the phone, we will get to you as well. At the appropriate time, you would put or raise your hand, or just let us know by saying, excuse me. Again, we will be posting this recording on our website in the RFQ section. The agenda, as most of you can see, we'll talk about the property and neighborhood overview, timeline, and submission requirements. Next slide, please. Again, property overview, Baltimore City Department of Housing and Community Development. We are seeking multiple developers to rehabilitate residential structures on the blocks surrounding the new Parkview Recreation Center, which is located at 2235 North Fulton Avenue in the 21217 zip code. These specific blocks are the 2600 block of Woodbrook, the 1500 block of Clifton, and the 2600 block of Francis Street. And as those of you who are on the Zoom call, you can see the red outline of the block surrounding the under construction Parkview Recreation Center. Next slide. Property overview. DHCD currently owns some properties in this footprint, and we are pursuing the acquisition of additional vacant properties surrounding the new recreation center. Based on community engagement work, our primary intended outcome for rehabilitation is home ownership. And again, this is a home ownership RFQ.
Yeah, and actually, I should jump in here.
Right ahead.
Should have updated this slide even stronger than what's expressed here. A home ownership outcome is not just DHCD's intended outcome. It is now a requirement of this RFQ. So we are explicitly looking for development partners to rehab these buildings for home ownership outcome. Thanks, Howard.
Thank you. And continuing on that, before we get to the timeline, we currently own 20 properties. We currently own 20 properties that are mayor and city council owned, and we still have about a dozen more to acquire. So we still have a dozen more to acquire. Next slide, please. This is the projected timeline. As you see, we launched the RFQ Friday, December 13th. We have a misprint in here, Matt, as far as site inspection. The pre-submittal conference would be December 18th, which is tonight. The submission deadline for the RFQ is Friday, January 24th at 11:59 p.m. Friday, January 24th at 11:59 p.m. After the submission date, we will have a submission review the week of January 27th. And again, this is projected. Review panel meeting number 1 will be the week of February 3rd, projected. And this where we will have developer interviews who meet the initial threshold. There will be a community presentation for all finalists. And again, the finalists would be developers who meet the minimum threshold. That will be the week of February 12th. And at the community presentation, that is when the developers will share their development experience and how they wish to rehab these properties for home ownership with the Penn North residents and stakeholders. Time and specific date will be announced. The final review panel meeting is projected for the week of February 18th. And then we hope to have a recommendation from our review panel to the assistant commissioner the week of February 24th. So we're trying to get the evaluation process wrapped up in the month of February so that hopefully sometime in March projected, we will have awards for these mayor and city council owned properties, again, for home ownership. Next slide, please. Submission requirements. All respondents, they are required to submit a cover letter, which will be a summary of qualifications, most relevant to working with the community partners and more specifically with the Penn North community. Relevant qualifications, a description of the scope and nature of your development experience, cost and quality control. We need a description of your financing methods, how you will be financing the project. Project team summary, names, roles, and resumes of key personnel who will constitute your development team. Financial capability. We need a concise description of organizations' financial capacity to deliver the prospective stabilization construction project, meaning the city, we will want to know, where you're getting your funding, what is your plan to fund the project. And references, at least one banking reference and 2 current or recent client references from development projects. Next slide. Again, submission deadline. All submissions are to be completed online and submit your responses no later than, again, 11:59 p.m. on Friday, January 24th. Obviously, you can submit it earlier than that, but the absolute drop dead deadline is 11:59 p.m. on January 24th. I may add, and Matt, you probably can and will correct me. Once you go in to start your application, you must complete it at that time or at that sitting. I do not believe we have a save and close at this time. So once you start, it is recommended that you complete it. If you don't, the information will be lost. So I just wanted to give you all interested parties that heads up.
Yep, that is correct. I can confirm that.
All right. And obviously, if we have a deadline at 11:59 on Friday, January 24th, 2025, excuse me, typo.
Wild.
No submissions will be accepted after this time. Submissions will be electronically date stamped upon receipt, and incomplete submissions will not be processed. Incomplete submissions will not be processed. Next slide. I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
No, so I'll mention I'll add to that. There have been some instances of folks having submitted applications for offerings, in the recent past, submitting the information, but not submitting the application fee payment. And if no payment is made along with the application, that application will not be processed. So just please make a note that the application fee also must be made at time of application. Thanks.
And post-selection, DHCD reserves the right to award directly from this RFQ. And if awarded, the selected developer/development team will go into an exclusive negotiating privilege, also known as an EMP. And that will provide financing information, project timeline, and an LDA, or what we call a land disposition agreement, which is the sales contract for the city of Baltimore. At this time, we will have questions. If you have questions after this conference, the website or the email address, excuse me, is developmentinfo@baltimorecity.gov. For our attendees on the phone, it would be developmentinfo, INFO, @baltimorecity.gov. At this particular time, I will go to Nicholas Mayer for the questions in the chat. And once we exhaust those questions in the chat, we will go to any questions that may be on the phone, and I don't see any phone numbers in the participant list. So Nick, go right ahead if you could, please.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to say we have quite a few questions. So to kick off, we have one question. Will the development team be required to take ownership of the property themselves, or are they just doing construction on behalf of the city? And I believe, the intention is that the city will sell the properties to your team. You'll do the redevelopment and then sell them to a homeowner.
And that is accurate. You will go to settlement on this mayor and city council owned property. Obviously, you will take the name and desired entity that you wish, and then the developer will sell that property to a prospective homeowner.
And if any developers want to keep one for themselves to live in, we would certainly love to see that as well.
Absolutely. But it's not a requirement the way you might be familiar with our Charm City Roots program, which does require that you live in the home. And this is not the case.
Correct. Yep.
We have one question, just if you could reiterate the number of properties the city is still working to acquire.
About a dozen.
Perfect.
About a dozen, give or take. And the acquisition process is already has already started. Some will move quicker than others, but it's about a dozen. Thank you.
Are we looking to award all the homes to one developer, or will the department consider awarding homes to multiple developers?
Yeah, great question. We are not intending on awarding to just one developer. Our intention is to award to multiple developers, because we want all of these vacant buildings rehabbed and occupied we want it done yesterday. So we are absolutely intending on awarding multiple properties to multiple developers.
All right. Will the department consider hard money as part of the financing for potential projects? I'm going to jump out on a limb here and say yes.
That is accurate. Yep.
I see there's one question about the developer registry. Those are still in review, and we anticipate that probably February is when announcements might come out about that. Where do we upload our proposal? Is there a location for online questions to the DHCD, and how much is the fee? So in terms of those online questions, please feel free to use the email developmentinfo@baltimorecity.gov. That is a monitored inbox, so we'll keep an eye out for your questions there. But in terms of uploading and the fee, sorry, Matt.
Oh, no, sorry. And I actually, in addition, we have recently started using another email account, which I'm going to put here in response to this question, devbids@baltimorecity.gov. So sorry, Nate.
You're all good.
Um,
All right.
So I guess the next portion of the question was, is there a location for online online questions? So again, you can email it devbids@baltimorecity.gov. The application fee. Oh, I should know this off the top of my head. Nick, do you recall? It's around $150, give or take. Howard, does that
I
sound?
think it's 150 plus service charge.
Okay,
Plus
thank you.
service charge.
Perfect. All right. What's the projected completion date of the rec center and the associated improvements?
The completed, the projected date is sometime in 2025. I think within the next 9 to 10 months. They are moving quickly on it, so sometime in 2025, latter part of 2025.
Hence our urgency in selecting our development partners here and getting those vacants in good hands, so that when we have this beautiful $12 million new rec center, it's not going to be surrounded by vacant buildings.
So the next question is related to that. Are there any vacant houses the city doesn't own or won't be acquiring? So there are the 12 properties that are not currently city owned that we are in the process of acquiring. I believe the intent is to acquire all vacant properties surrounding the rec center. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, the city has done some analysis of which privately owned vacants there are in proximity to the site. There's been analysis about which specific acquisition method makes the most sense on a property by property basis. And so there can be each property has to be reviewed on a case by case basis. But our intention certainly is to be acquiring any of the vacant buildings around the rec center through whichever means are available to the city.
So our next question, what is there any developer incentive associated with this project?
Yeah, great question. At this point, we don't have any specific dedicated developer incentive funding. But stay tuned to the RFQ webpage, and if particular developer incentive funding is identified and allocated, we will provide that information.
So the next two questions are related. Can you submit a proposal for just a portion of a block or for one block? And then as a related question, will the city consider allocating properties in a way such that a development team has, adjacent properties for easy planning?
Yeah, great questions. So I'll take this one. What we are looking for in your applications is not for you to be applying for specific properties. We've listed which of the properties we own and which of the properties we're targeting for acquisition. Applicants are free to express preferences for particular properties in their application, but our intention is to select multiple applicants here who have demonstrated their financial and technical capacity and ability to renovate vacant buildings here. So so in a general sense. And so to the second question, yes, we are going to be looking to strategically match particular vacant properties with particular developers, right? So like if maybe it might make sense if two particular vacants next door to each other are both missing roofs. Like we would likely look to award the both of those properties to the same entity, right? Yes, we're looking to be strategic and efficient in how we award properties.
And as a related follow-up to that, the goal is to rehab all 32 homes at the same time through whatever combination of teams. In terms of allocating them across, development teams, that financing piece you talked about, Matt, is definitely what we're going to kind of lean on. So the capacity of the development team is going to play a role in how many properties are awarded to each team. So certainly make sure in your application, if there's a minimum number, that you're willing to do, make sure to mention that, and your maximum, what's your realistic capacity, to work on a certain number of homes out of the 32.
And please note that per the city's land disposition agreement, the expectation is for whatever quantity that a developer is awarded gets done in 12 months or less. 12 months or less. Permits pulled within the first 30 days of going to settlement. Those are going to be the expectations, not to sit and hold or wait till another project is completed, but to jump in both feet first to get these properties completed in a very timely fashion.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
All right. So we have another question. Are the awards subject to city local hiring requirements?
That's a good question. I don't, Howard, do you know specifically the answer to that question?
I don't think in this case there's a MBE, a WBE requirements for the RFQ. At this time, we can research that and get back to the group with
Yep.
that right answer.
Great.
So we have one question on the potential incentives that developers might be able to offer homeowners when the properties are complete. At this point, there isn't anything specific on our end at the department, kind of for that purpose. But Matt and Howard, doesn't Live Baltimore have a recently rehabbed vacant home buying incentive? Am I off base here?
Yes, they do. Live Baltimore does have incentives for home buyers purchasing previous properties with a vacant building notice on it, a VBN. So does the city of Baltimore, and those incentives are stackable and would apply to those prospective home buyers who would be purchasing those properties from the developers here assembled, or whoever is awarded the property. So yes, developer incentives are encouraged, and they are stackable.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll add for those not familiar with the work that Live Baltimore does, they're a wonderful resource in pulling together all different sorts of homeowner incentives that exist across the city. So that's a terrific resource. And I will also mention that actually I'm going to check in the background. I am pretty sure that that the properties are located. Well, I'll just try and speak slowly and stretch out my time here. I believe these properties are eligible for the historic preservation tax credit. I believe they are within they're not within a CHAP district, but they are, I believe, within a National Historic District. Um, I'll look at that. I'll look and and chime in later on that. Thanks.
Perfect. Howard and Matt, can you talk a bit about coordination with our state and local elected officials around this project area?
Is there a more specific question? Is it?
The
I was just
trying
working
to summarize a bit.
with local delegates in the area.
Yes.
This question. I can say that Senator Hayes has been extremely involved and very, very, very interested in this particular offering. He's been working with DHCD staff for a long time, and really, really pushing and insisting that we get this out the door. He is just as eager as anyone to get these houses renovated as quickly as possible.
And I would add, as well as Councilman James Torrance,
Yes,
as well.
definitely.
So for our next question, do we have the option to bid on specific properties as each property has its own specifications? I'm going to kick this one off and say that the focus here is really on the qualification of your team. So if your team is better suited to a certain kind of vacant, I would encourage you to put that in your application. But the offering is not for specific properties, in part because the department does want to do that matchmaking and make sure that there are those strategic clusters of properties for each team.
And please be advised that these are all two-story buildings.
Yep. And I'll just circle back. All these properties in the specific geography are eligible for the city's historic property tax credit, as they are within. Again, they are not within a CHAP local historic district, so you're not subject to all CHAP stuff. But they are located within the Baltimore National Heritage Area. So in summary, for those not familiar with the historic property tax credit, aka the CHAP tax credit, you can find all information about it on the CHAP, which stands for Commission for Historic and Architectural Preservation, CHAP website. And basically, what it does is it will if a property's current tax assessment is if its current tax bill is $200 because its assessed value is a couple $1,000, the tax credit basically locks in that tax rate for 10 years. Any increases in property assessment are passed on to the property owner as a credit for 10 full years. So it's an extraordinarily lucrative tax credit, and can result in ultimate end mortgage rates, mortgage monthly payments being extremely low because the resulting property owner is paying almost no property tax for 10 years. So again, lots more information about that on the Baltimore City CHAP website, but I just wanted to highlight that for interested folks.
Thank you, Ben. So we did receive another question on the developer RFQ. So just as an update for everyone, that's a separate initiative we have ongoing, and the applications are still in review. So we don't have any updates on that at this point.
Thank you, everyone who has applied for that, and thank you for your patience. It's been, I'll just note briefly, we've had tremendous interest, an extraordinary amount of applications, which has kept Nick in particular very, very wired. He's done a tremendous amount of work in the background, prepping everything and doing all of the unseen work. So thank you all for anyone here who has applied for our developer registry. Thank you for your patience. We are every single day pushing it forward.
Alrighty. So will investors who acquire properties around the rec center be required to sell? So the city is in the process of acquiring the vacant and abandoned buildings. If you own a property that is not vacant and abandoned, then you would not be required to sell. Certainly, if you are, looking to rehab additional properties as a part of your project, that wouldn't necessarily be an issue.
But again, if it's a vacant building or property that has a vacant building notice on it, there will be stepped up code enforcement surrounding the rec center. So if there is a private owner who owns a building with a vacant building notice on it, code enforcement will be possibly giving you citations for that vacant building. We don't want any vacant buildings. The goal is no vacant buildings surrounding the rec center.
And we would encourage you to follow the legal process if you own a property with a VBN and you'd like to remediate it and avoid issues with code enforcement. There's a process you can follow to redevelop your building and get a UNO permit.
Yeah, I'll just chime in to say that the DHCD, the city in general, we absolutely we love, we support, we need folks, buying vacants on the private market and renovating them. We need your partnership. So please don't be discouraged. At the same time, we need vacant buildings to be being worked on. So if you are someone who you just settled on a vacant, we're not gonna throw the book at you off the bat. But unfortunately, what we see a lot of times for lots of different reasons is folks, they buy vacants and a year passes, 2 years passes, 3 years pass, and we're not seeing permits being pulled. So there is a tremendous sense of urgency here. So but we're eager to work in partnership with everybody.
So we have a question next. Are you also working with developers who may be in partnerships with nonprofits that assist in providing housing for the homeless or other, populations? The department does work with developers like that through some of our other offerings. But again, the goal of this RFQ is for homeownership on these specific blocks. So for these 32 vacants, the goal is that they'll be sold to a homeowner.
Yeah, that's correct. And definitely still lots of other opportunities throughout the city for rehab outcomes for other means besides homeownership.
So we have a question about developer collaboration. Is there a requirement for a cooperative agreement between developers to help them coexist peacefully?
Good question. As far as I know, we don't have any particular draft language or for agreements envisioned. I mean, we would each of the particular LDAs for each of the properties being sold to the respective development partners those are going to be individual individual deals. So like properties going to developer A, even right next door to developer B, they're those are separate transactions taking place. We certainly hope that there is cooperation and all of that with everybody working on these vacants in the block. I mean, I think all of us, hopefully all of us have the same end goal in mind, which is eliminating vacancy. In particular here, next to what's going to be a beautiful community asset.
And again, we will be evaluating, all of these applications from, this offering. And the expectation is for all awardees to get these properties rehabbed and get a use and occupancy agreement within 12 months. Does it have to be sold in 12 months? No. But we are requiring, again, per the land disposition agreement, a use and occupancy certificate within 12 months. That's the goal for everyone. And if someone is, not pulling permits, again, code enforcement will be swift. So hopefully everyone can get along and move forward.
Plenty of work
Yes.
for all of us. And I'll add in terms of competitiveness and efficiency and all that. Again, I'll highlight, we currently own a bunch of the vacants, but we don't own all of them, which means that we're going to be looking in the next couple of months to award. Let's say we'll hopefully award all of our current inventory, but then in another 9 months from now, as we get more inventory in the area, we're going to look and we're going to see, developer X, they got 4 or 5 vacants and they finished them all. Well, we're going to be looking to sell them more. Whereas if developer Y got the same amount and they haven't gotten use occupancy permits for theirs, like we're not going to sell them more. So hopefully the fact that we have more inventory coming in will serve as extra incentive for our development partners who are selected at this point.
All right. First-time home buyers are qualified. We had one question on that. I see another question, if there's a specific list of properties available to do due diligence and get numbers started. The best way to that I would recommend for you all for that is to go on CodeMap if you haven't already. It's a tool you can use to see the different, how would you describe it, Matt? The parcel level information on the city's targeting and code enforcement, and it includes vacant building notices. And you can use that to find the, look at this particular site, and it's those vacant building notices on properties directly around the rec center site that are part of this RFQ.
And
Yeah,
also, okay.
Yeah. All right, good. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say also, we have a list of the 20 properties that we currently own on our RFQ platform.
Yep.
And we have the listing of what we're in the process of acquiring on the platform as well. So you'll see the 20 that we own, and you'll see the 12 or 13, I believe it's 13, that we're in the process of owning. So again, what's 33. So again, that's available to see, so you can drive by and evaluate.
Yeah, one note and one caveat. The note is some of those properties listed in our current inventory in the RFQ itself, they're not going to be reflected on CodeMap, and that's because there's a lag time. A number of these properties, we have received title to them within the past couple of months, but state land records hasn't been updated, and so it isn't reflected on. So CodeMap is going to show that that it's privately owned. So just to highlight that, in case folks are looking at the list, well, the RFQ says the city owns this, but CodeMap says it's privately owned. In some instances, that's the reason why it's that lag. And then the caveat is, as is expressed clearly in the RFQ, the housing commissioner does reserve the right to make modifications and adjustments. So to the properties that we make available through this RFQ. So we listed, again, our current inventory and our projected inventory, sort of to give applicants a general sense of which properties and how many, but it's not absolutely 100% gospel truth. Again, the housing commissioner reserves the right to make particular modifications on a case-by-case basis as necessary.
So Matt and Howard, there have been a number of questions at this point. I see a couple more too that are all related to the specific properties. Do we have a site visit scheduled for this RFQ? When we'll be on site?
Not at this point. We do not have a site visit, only because the award hasn't occurred yet. Once there is an award and you are giving 2, 3, 4, whatever number it is, that's when the site visit will be triggered. Again, these are vacant buildings. They've been vacant 10, 15 years. The blight if you're having experience with vacant buildings, you know it's musty, dusty, cobwebby inside. It's the worst case scenario, total gut rehab. So no site visits at this site inspections at this time because you may not be awarded what you go into.
Right, right.
So-
Yes, I think yes, I think that that's the key point to again reiterate. As I said before, folks, if you wish to like express and say, oh, well, I'm really interested in these 5 properties, you're free to express that. But again, applicants for this RFQ are not applying for specific properties listed. You are applying saying, I am a rehab developer and I'm qualified. I have the financial capacity to be placed on to be selected as one of the developers for this RFQ. Once that developer list has been assembled, the next step is matching developers with particular properties. And so at that point in time, there certainly can be right of entry agreements drafted, or whatever sorts of whatever things have to take place to get folks inside a building so that they can see and get a sense of what they're going to be buying from us.
Alrighty. So we have a question about affordable homeownership. Is there any specific requirement for affordable homeownership as a part of this RFQ?
There is not. There is no. Generally speaking, there is no AMI thresholds as a part of this offering.
Have there been any updates to the zoning code since the RFQ, the project began to come together? It sounds like, acquisition being several years ago. Have there been any zoning updates in this area?
No, there haven't been any rezonings to.
They have not. They're all R8. All the
Mhm.
buildings will be R8.
Yep, which is yeah, and then the R8 district is the city's sort of product is the typical row house zoning district.
We're getting a lot of good questions tonight. So our next one is ground rent. Will DHCD work to remediate any ground rent associated with the properties?
Yes, I believe that I believe that any and Howard correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe typically our real estate officers will work to redeem any ground rents for properties that we sell, so that we're selling them fee simple with and not leasehold.
That is correct.
And that would include water bills or other liens that might be on the property as well.
Well, and also, when we do sell city-owned property, the liens are abated. So there would be no liens, tax liens, water bills, what have you. The properties will be conveyed lien-free.
So moving along the same line into acquisition, is there a specific purchase price that the department is anticipating for these properties?
I don't believe we have identified any particular purchase price for the properties. No.
All right, so we have some questions around kind of the overview of the project and the objective of its goal. I do want to point everyone, so on our website for the RFQ, in the packet there's information on the local community. You can also access resources through the planning department and through CodeMap to get at some of those pieces. But Matt and Howard, could you talk just a little bit about kind of the intent of this offering and how it aligns with the goals of the Penn North community?
Well, first of all, these homes are surrounding the $12 million investment of the Parkview Recreation Center. Obviously, the rec center will provide a safe and accessible space for community members and stakeholders to participate in various recreation activities, promoting physical health, social interaction, and overall well-being of the neighborhood, especially the youth and the seniors. So that's what the rec center will represent. Having that brand new rec center there, DHCD's goal is to, have the surrounding buildings occupied via homeownership. That would, of course, raise the profile of the Penn North community, establish a tax base for homeownership, and steadily improve the human condition in Penn North and in West Baltimore. So those are the goals that the agency has. And thanks to our state partners with Senator Hayes in the 40th District in providing funding means for the rec center, we have a chance to have a crown jewel of a rec center and homeowners in Penn North. Matt, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well said.
So I see one request for the website link. I'm going to drop that in there. And I noticed that we had one question I missed. Just lost it again. Apologies, the chat has been jumping around a little bit on me. Are there any requirements associated with the sale to the homeowner? So preferred lenders or programs or things like that that the department is going to require for the sale of the home?
Yeah, the agency does not recommend lenders or any vendors, so to speak. We don't get into that. That's going to be up to the educated home buyer, who hopefully will be taking a home buyer counseling course to further their knowledge on being a homeowner. But again, we don't provide recommended vendors for prospective home buyers.
So looking again at the target sales price, so kind of in line with what we said before, the department is not going to set a target sales price for these properties. There's kind of a follow-up question here, which is interesting, and Matt, I think gets to maybe some of your experience. Will each developer be expected to follow the same footprints?
Oh, not necessarily. If a developer is interested in doing a rear addition or a third floor addition, that developer would be required to obtain any and all approvals and building permits, and should not expect that DHCD would necessarily would facilitate in any particular way obtaining those approvals and permits. But no, if a developer wished to do more than just internally rehab the building, but add square footage, that's certainly yes, a possibility. You would be required to obtain all of the necessary approvals to do that. But good question.
All right. Any final question?
There was a hand that was raised by a gentleman. I don't know. It went away. But if anybody here on the Zoom wishes to use the raise hand feature, we can unmute you. This question just came in. So wouldn't that be a monopoly if developer X is taking up the majority of those properties, while developer Y has not succeeded? Instead of putting a cap on how many bids a business, it cuts off. But DHCD we are absolutely enthusiastic and supportive of supporting different developers supporting emerging developers. We're always looking to increase the stable of experienced, qualified developers. There are a lot of vacant buildings in the city, and it's going to take a lot of work coming from lots of different sides. So we're always very, very supportive of increasing capacity. At the same time, DH City is also very sensitive to the fact that many of our neighborhoods have been suffering, as everyone here knows, suffering from vacancy for a very, very long time. We've had folks living in these neighborhoods for decades, surrounded by vacant buildings. And so while we both want to support capacity building in general, we want developers to get their foot in the door, gain experience. We want to partner with them in that. We're also sensitive to community folks saying, "City, these vacants need to be renovated yesterday." So that's something that we're always navigating, and it can be a tricky balance sometimes, but that's the charge that we have.
So perhaps as our last question, there was one question here. It was stated that upon award, the parties would enter into an ENP. Does that mean that the fixed pricing program would not be used? Kind of in the sale guidelines.
Yeah, I don't think that those two things are mutually exclusive. Establishing a exclusive negotiating privilege and our fixed price program guidelines. I believe that is our intent, to utilize our FPP guidelines for the acquisition price.
All right, I know I said that was the last question, but I'm gonna add one more because I appreciated this one a lot. The question was, are we using AI to review the applications? I'll tell you now, no. It will be us.
We have
and
Mr.
a
Tutman.
panel.
We don't need any artificial intelligence. We've got Tutman intelligence.
That's funny. Thank you.
So I know
That's a lot.
your favorite city employees will be reviewing the applications. We put a lot of time and effort into reviewing the applications. We have a panel approach which will review each application, and typically, there are quite a few steps to that process internally and also with the applicants. So you'll hear more from us as this progresses, but unfortunately for us, there's no AI involved.
Yeah. TI. And to the last, so this isn't a question, but a comment about the city's ability to purchase all or most of the vacants is important. 100% agree. We absolutely recognize that, and that is exactly why we are doing this particular RFQ, because we understand that you can only go so far by doing individual one-off rehabs. Our intention here is to get a bunch of qualified, capable folks, and then get all of these buildings out, all these vacants out, like at like the same time, very quickly. So so come spring, summer, we got construction crews all around the park. That's our vision.
And to add on to that, again, once you submit, we will be reviewing and evaluating your submission. Obviously, we're going to be relying on those developers. If you have experience, for you to list the experience. If you don't tell your story, we won't know or assume. Again, we'll do background checks to see whether or not you're up to date on your current projects. And again, the entity name on the application should match the name on the funding information, whether it's a bank statement, lender approval letter, retirement statement, what have you. All names should be matched. And if you have an LLC, just help us by letting us know who the partners are, who the principals are. So just wanted to give those pointers out for those of you who may not who have not submitted applications for city-owned property. Matt?
Yep, thanks. And then there's, I'm gonna, couple more questions. Nobody wants to leave, but I'll take these quick. There's question, if some developers don't start within a reasonable time frame, will the cities, take the houses back? We have a compliance team that tracks, our recent sales. They will send out letters on a regular basis if we notice that permits haven't been applied for. Our last resort is trying to take properties back. We don't want to take properties back. Our first preference is having our development partners get the work done. Our first inclination is going to be, if it's been 6 months and we aren't seeing permits, we're going to want to reach out and say, hey, what's going on? Like, can we provide assistance? Let's have a conversation. We're balancing. We want to see our partners successful, because your success is our success, is the city's success. We also have have demands from existing neighborhood residents who want vacant buildings fixed. Our least preferred option is trying to take back properties. There was another one about if applications are denied. We're certainly always willing to have conversations with folks who have applied for, whether it's an offering, whether it's through a fixed price program, and have a conversation. Folks say, well, why was my application denied? Always happy to have a conversation to point out and say, maybe you were strong here, but we're looking for this. If you do X, Y, and Z for next time, because again, we want to be supportive. We need a lot of hands to do all this work.
And again, just to follow up with Matt,
Mhm.
there will be other RFQs. We just had the TIF approved, so it will be a lot of properties in 2025, not just these 33, but there will be more properties available for development. So if this timing isn't right for this project, it'll be another one shortly to follow.
Yep.
Is there another question? Is there another question in the chat?
I think that the last, it has to do with just, understanding that sort of, our approved developers, you're kind of in some sense, you're kind of in this together, because, when, each vacant that gets rehabbed is good for the rest of the block, the rest of the neighborhood. So yes, we certainly are, we're aware of that, and we want to set everybody up for success.
And again, just to piggyback, if something happens, life happens between the award or between you submitting the application and the award, you could be proactive and let us know, hey, you want to defer or, decline the award at this time. And, we can move on to another developer. But again, the expectation is for everyone to, to get a use and occupancy certificate in less than 12.
Maybe last question. If someone wanted to knock down multiple vacant homes to make a recreational compound, no, that's outside the scope of what we're looking for here. We are looking for rehab of these buildings for homeownership.
And just
yep.
To add to that, to get back to some of the questions about community and the community impact, that's what the community in Penn North has asked for, that these properties be redeveloped for homeowners to live near this beautiful new rec center and use it. And so, it's the department is attempting to remain consistent with the goal the community has articulated here. And although rec center, recreational space is, certainly wonderful, it's not consistent with that goal the community has laid out.
And again, the rec center will have a very large green space as well. So,
yep, walking paths, outdoor play fields.
Yep.
Going to be beautiful. Very, very, very anxious to see it finished in at some point next year.
Okay.
Oh, and I want to recognize Senator Hayes has joined us.
Any
Wanna,
comments, Senator Hayes?
if you just came in and you missed our earlier praise, again, DHCD is very fortunate and very thankful to have Senator Hayes' leadership and dogged perseverance in all the things, and in particular this RFQ. So thank you, Senator Hayes.
Okay.
Right. Well, thank you everyone very much for joining us tonight. Again, we are going to post this recording on the RFQ website. Please feel free and encouraged to reach out if you have any other questions.
All right.
Thank Nick and Howard for all your work here. And thank you, everyone.
Before we jump off, just this last question. This is a priority. These 3 blocks are a priority. So as far as inspections, it's a priority with the city. So to answer your question, it should not be any lag time with inspectors coming out and performing inspections on work that was done.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Matt.
Yep. Nope. I agree.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone, so very much. Looking forward to getting lots of great applications.
Thank you. Have a great evening,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.